So we're looking at the carbon dioxide gas sensor. So we have our interface, we have the sensor itself, and then the bottle that it comes with. So the bottle and the sensor go in this box, and then the interfaces we keep separate because the battery life is pretty short, so we leave them in these battery packs so they can charge. Now, a couple things that are important about this gas sensor. First, you never want to place this tube in any liquid. It's a gas sensor, so it only senses gas. What this thing measures is the change in carbon dioxide levels, and it can measure that for a chamber that has small living things like crickets or worms, or even some seeds that might be germinating and producing carbon dioxide or taking out carbon dioxide. A terrarium of plants might be undergoing respiration and photosynthesis, and this thing could measure the carbon dioxide levels in that system. It could even do chemical reactions between like hydrochloric acid and sodium bicarbonate, and you'd measure the CO2 produced. So you need these three items together to measure carbon dioxide. The first step that you'll want to do when you plug in the gas sensor is to allow it to warm up for about 90 seconds. So step one, allow it to warm up for 90 seconds before taking any official readings. The sensor also has two settings. So you'll want to, step two, check the two settings and see which one you need. For example, the sensor can't take readings at a concentration higher than 100,000 parts per million. So the units are parts per million. So if the sensor is reading, for example, right now, if I put it on the low setting and it starts to give me readings on the low setting around 45 or 50, then I think the low setting is fine. If on the low setting I had the number 10,000 showing up, then that would be an indication to me that I should probably put it on the high setting. If the sensor is reading at 10,000 or at 100,000, then that just means that the carbon dioxide concentration may be exceeding the maximum value for the setting. And just to give you an example, exhaled human breath usually has a carbon dioxide concentration of about 50,000 parts per million. And so that's when you would want to use the high setting if you were, trying to collect carbon dioxide concentration readings for humans. But generally what we're going to be doing is collecting data in a controlled environment. So this bottle here, essentially if you open it, you're able to just stick the sensor directly in there and it'll seal it up. So we want to collect our data in a sealed environment. And you end up with something like this, which easily tips over, so watch out for that. Next, just one piece of information. The carbon dioxide gas sensor is measuring carbon dioxide gas concentration in an environment. So the concentration is measured in units called parts per million, which we'll be talking a lot about this year. Parts per million for gas means that 1 part per million refers to 1 part by volume in 1 million volume units of the whole. So to give you an example, a concentration of 600 parts per million for carbon dioxide just means that there are 600 liters of carbon dioxide gas for every 1 million liters of air, or 0.6 milliliters of carbon dioxide per 1 liter of air. So it's just a math conversion. Now let's talk about how to take readings. You don't technically need to calibrate the gas sensor because sometimes when you click on here, it tells you, or it gives you the option to calibrate. In this case, it's just giving us the option to change units, but we want to keep it in parts per million. So all you really need to do to calibrate is give it that 90-second wait time. So place it in the chamber, let it read for about 90 seconds, and then start to take your true readings. So to take a true reading, and this is kind of the tricky part, you have a couple of options. Option one to take a reading is to wait 90 seconds and essentially give it some time to even out. And if after about 60 seconds the numbers are pretty much not changing, or even if they still are, just make a judgment call. So for example,